Welcome back to Bourbon Beer and Basketball One-on-One, where we break down the madness of March one pour at a time. If you're filling out your brackets thinking Villanova was a safe pick to cruise through the first weekend, well, Utah State had other plans. The Aggies just delivered one of those classic tournament moments that remind us why we watch every game in March, because anything can happen when that ball tips off. Tonight, we're doing a deep dive into Utah State's gutsy first-round takedown of Villanova, a game that had everything: suffocating defense, clutch shooting, and a mid-major program proving they belong on the biggest stage. Utah State came into this tournament battle tested from the Mountain West, a conference that doesn't do you any favors when it comes to easy wins. Meanwhile, Villanova brought their championship pedigree in that smooth offensive system Jay Wright built, and Kyle Neptune has continued. But here's what happened. The Aggies didn't flinch. They matched Villanova's physicality, they executed their defensive game plan to perfection, and when the moment called for big shots, they delivered. This wasn't luck, this was preparation, meeting opportunity. So grab your drink of choice, because we're breaking down the storylines and what this win means for Utah State's tournament run. We'll talk about the X's and O's, the mid-major advantage, and why games like this are exactly why March Madness is the greatest sporting event on the calendar. Let's pour into it. Welcome to the show, Bourbon Beer and Basketball panel member and statistician superstar Josh Fife. Josh,
what's up?
How's it going, buddy?
Oh, it's been a fun tournament so far.
Yeah, you needed that win worse than probably anybody in the Bourbon Beer and Basketball Conference Draft Challenge. Utah State is your lone remaining team left, and they brought you up to 5 points in a tie with Jonathan Yates for last place. Do you think they can get you at least one more point, or is Arizona going to be too much for them to handle?
I don't think they will get me another point, but I'm hoping, and nothing against Arizona, but let's go Aggies.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, though. Utah State's thrilling 2026 NCAA tournament first-round victory over Villanova was a statement win that sent shockwaves through March Madness brackets nationwide. The Aggies, representing the Mountain West Conference, pulled off what many considered an upset against the storied Big East program. This game showcased Utah State's gritty defensive identity, efficient offense, and the kind of mid-major magic that makes the tournament essential viewing. For college basketball fans who love bracket-busting moments and underdog stories, this game represented everything that makes March Madness special. So let's start with the atmosphere, Josh. What was the energy like in the building when Utah State pulled off this upset over Villanova?
It felt more home crowdish for Utah State, no doubt. Now being in San Diego, close drive for the Utah State kids, which we all know they travel well anyway, but for a tournament, there was never a doubt. And coming from the far east, Nova was at a disadvantage there, and so it definitely felt like a Utah State pro crowd. The kids had the gloves on just like they do anytime you watch them on TV, and that made it louder. And even the courtside reporter after the game alluded to Utah State fans showing up and being loud, and that's what Utah State does. They travel well.
Yeah. You have Arizona and Utah State going to be right there too. Both of them in pretty close proximity. So
I would imagine that's going to be a packed stadium.
Yep. Walk us through Utah State's journey to this moment. What did their season look like building up to this game?
Utah State had a weird season. A lot of up and down. Felt like at times nobody could really figure them out. They waffled in and out of the top 25 throughout the year. They were looking great. Midway through the season, they hit a 2-game skid with GCU and UNLV, and everybody thought, oh, there's the Utah State Mountain West thing that always happens. They go back on another streak. Later on in the season, they lose 3 out of 4. Again, everybody went, well, I guess they're not top 25, and they finished the season with 5 straight and then ran through the Mountain West Conference tournament. So they got hot at the right time, just like everybody's supposed to do in March if you want a chance. And they needed it against Nova because Nova's they bring it to the tournament every year. So Utah State needed every point they got tonight.
Yeah. What did Utah State do defensively to disrupt Villanova's offensive rhythm and keep them uncomfortable?
Yeah, Nova only had 2 fast break points tonight, so they shut down any speed. Utah State's kind of built on speed and quickness. They're just fast moving, fast reacting. Um, they're just quick minded, really, and I think that's part Calhoun and part of the kids they recruit. Um, really, it was close. Nova actually had a 2-point lead in the first half, but second half, while Utah State only shot 1 for 6 from 3, they did go 14 from 18 from 2-point range. They kind of dominated the paint, and their bench actually won 16-3 over Nova. So Utah State shut down any bench stuff tonight from Nova, kept them in check. And with the 2 fast break points for Nova, I don't know that I ever thought Utah State was going to lose the game. It was close, but they finished it off the way they were supposed to.
All right. Hot take time. Is this upset a sign that the gap between mid-major and high-major programs is closing, or did Utah State just have the perfect matchup?
I really don't think the gap is as large as some think it is. I think the younger generations are focusing more and more on one sport, having coached in the younger generation world for quite some time. My wife and I both did in Boise, Idaho for about 8 or 9 years. And we were kind of in that time when Steph Curry changed the game. And basketball's different than it was 20 years ago. The way the game is played, the speed of it, kids are shooting better because honestly, they start shooting at 8 or 9 years old. And that's different from how maybe Sam, you and I grew up with the game of basketball.
Yeah.
So it's just sped up. And with club teams everywhere you look now, I think parity is going to grow. I don't think we're going to see a dramatic drop off with mid-majors winning a game or two in the tournament. I don't think we're going to see a mid-major run the gauntlet ever. But I do think we're going to see far more turnover in college basketball if the current system is allowed to continue. Because you're not going to see kids stick at a mid-major 3 to 4 years if they show any sign of talent. They'll be gone. And who can blame them? You get a 20-year-old that gets offered $500, $1 million, $2 million. What 20-year-old's not going to take that? That's life-changing. So I don't think the gap's going to be as huge as some people think it is, but I don't know that we're going to see a Utah State make the Final Four very often.
Yeah. I think the last team that really put the mid-majors on the map, San Diego State, when they made it all the way to the national championship.
Yes, sir.
Who were the unsung heroes in this game, the role players who stepped up when Utah State needed them the most?
Yeah, I thought Gary Clark for Utah State. He only played 15 minutes, but they were a strong 15 minutes. He made smart decisions, shot 3 for 4 from the free throw line, ended up with 4 rebounds. Just a key 15 minutes for him, which gave Falslev and MJ Collins that little bit of a break from having to run the show. Templin, obviously, he's just what he does. He's the energy, he's the spark, he's the guy that's over on the sidelines, getting the crowd up, getting everybody amped up, which again allows a little bit of energy saving for Collins and Falslev to do their things. So I got to go with Templin and Gary Clark for the two. I don't know if I'd call them unsungs, but the two guys that really kept the crowd in it and kept them going.
Rapid fire time. Give me 3 words that describe Utah State's identity as a team this season.
I got 2 sets of 3 words, so forgive me. First set, Falslev, Collins, Templin, heart of Utah State. Those 3 guys, they are the team. They are the energy. They're the fire, and they're the guys that kept them going all season. Outside of the 3 names I just gave you, I would say speed, togetherness, and a phrase, offensive brilliance. I think what we saw today was Calhoun's offensive mindset and so much picking apart Nova piece by piece with cuts, with 45-degree cuts, with overpoint. Just they ran good offense and they kept Nova guessing the whole time. And you saw them pick them apart in the paint. They destroyed them down low.
Looking ahead to the round of 32, what does Utah State need to do to keep this magic going against Arizona, and who would be the toughest to match up against?
Yeah, so Arizona is going to be a tough one for them. I don't think they're going to beat them. They've got to have Falslev and Collins play out of their minds, but that's going to be real tough against an Arizona kid like Jaden Bradley. They've got multiple double-digit scorers at Arizona, so that's going to be key right there. What are those two guys and Bradley? What do they look like throughout the game? Utah State dominating inside. I don't know that they're going to be able to do that against Arizona's size and their depth, and that's going to be. I'm really curious to see how Utah State handles a much bigger team. I think if it's close, that benefits Utah State. I think they got to keep it within that 5 to 10 point range. If Arizona gets out to a 15 or 20 point lead, I don't think Utah State's going to have a chance at coming back from that one. So we'll see what happens there. They've got to limit turnovers, play smart. Utah State does that often, so I think that's a strength that could keep them in the game. We'll see how Arizona pressures them. Falslev and Collins are fast and quick, but Arizona's a different speed even than Nova was. And so I don't know. We'll see. Arizona's got a lot of depth, and I don't know if Utah State can handle that depth, but if Collins and Falslev can get going and you get a guy like Templin that can keep the energy high, we'll see. One seeds go down often, and
yep.
I don't know why this one shouldn't be any different.
We almost saw it against Duke with Siena.
Man,
close one.
That would have made the second half of my Tar Heel heart happy.
Yeah, and Arizona's really the most balanced team in this tournament coming into it. So Utah State will have their hands cut out, or work cut out for them. So
by far, I think we got to get 30 out of Collins or Falslev. One of them have to go off.
Maybe both will.
That'd be great. Let's go Aggies.
Well, Josh, thanks for joining us tonight. Utah State beats Nova 86-76 to set up a meeting with Arizona on Sunday. Until next time, y'all stay safe.
Let's go Broncos.